ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It's Hoist the Colors, Wednesday, September 10th edition of the program. Exciting hour ahead. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. If you have a question or a comment, drop it in the chat and we will get to it throughout the next hour of the show. Also, subscribe on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify to get the replays of the show. In case you missed any of our interviews yesterday, we dove into the American Conference while the Pirates have the inside track to the college football playoff. Also, download the IBX Media app to get the Patrick Johnson Show, replay of our show, Inside Pirate Athletics, the Logan Zone, which airs Thursday night 5 to 7, as well as Talk of the Town. So we're going to welcome back later in the program here shortly a former show host here at 94.3 The Game, Josh Graham. Most Pirate fans know him well. He is the host of The Drive in the Triad, WSJS 3 to 6 daily there. We'll get into ECU football from his perspective, also the ACC as a whole with Josh Graham here shortly. We're also going to take your questions, your comments. The theme of the show today is, what concerns do you have after two games with ECU football? Obviously, we've talked a lot of positive things that have happened. What concerns do we have? We'll get into that in a little bit. Philip Pilkington producing today's show. We'll discuss that after our interview with Josh in depth. We'll also welcome in James Giglio, Hoist the Colors intern, to the program as well. I'll tell you a concern I have, Philip Pilkington, and this is a running thing on our show. We had our guy Larry Lewis from the Tulsa Rival site on in the offseason to preview the Tulsa Golden Hurricane as part of our opponent previews. We were all in on the Tulsa win total of 2.5 going over. We put money on it after that interview. We were feeling good about it after Tulsa beat Abilene Christian 35-7. I am now concerned after the Golden Hurricane went to New Mexico State, could not close the deal. They lost 21-14, and I shudder to read the schedule ahead. Philip, I'm not feeling that great about getting two more wins.
A little disappointed that they lost to the university that puts less money into football, I think, than any other team in America, and that includes junior colleges. But there's a little glimmer of hope. And that little glimmer of hope is Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State are washed. In 2 weeks, they're going to Stillwater, and they're going to beat the Cowboys, baby. Let's go, Golden Hurricane.
Can you believe that this Tulsa at Oklahoma State game is the ESPN primetime game, 7:30?
Because they are here. I don't even dislike Mike Gundy. I'm not here for the fall of Mike Gundy, but I'm here for us to hit our bet. And ESPN is putting it in primetime so that everybody can see us ride off into the sunset victoriously for the Tulsa Golden Hurricane over the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
I am now noticing it is a Friday, so maybe we should get together and watch this game. Tulsa plays Navy at home this Saturday, then they go to Oklahoma State. Then they play Tulane at Memphis at ECU, and then they get Temple at home. That's a winnable game. At FAU is a winnable game. Oregon State. So, I mean, we still got a shot.
Yeah, home against UAB at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, what's his name? Will be fired by then. Probably.
Trent Dilfer.
Trent Dilfer, yeah. Yeah. All right, next Friday night. Let's do it.
Let's do it. We'll get together and watch that. All right, so there's your Tulsa win total update. We have a lot of financial ramifications of this. All right, I'll tell you what. We'll go ahead and get a break in. We'll get to Josh Graham. We know Josh likes to talk, especially when it comes to sports, so we'll get a ton of insight from Josh Graham on the other side. Also, again, leave your comments. What concerns you most after two games with ECU football? Leave your comments. We'll get to those later in the show. Lane Smith already in the chat leaving his concerns. We've got plenty to get to later in the program there, so drop those in the chat throughout the show. Josh Graham next. This is Hoist the Colors.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout eastern North Carolina. You get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arg!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Every ECU fan's one stop for all things ECU athletics. This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back into Hoist the Colors. It is a Wednesday, September 10th edition of the show. Very excited about our guest right now, an old friend of mine and a former college colleague of mine. We're welcoming him back to 94.3 The Game as well, as he used to host a show on this very station. He is the Josh Graham. Josh, we were texting. This is your first appearance on 94.3 since leaving, at least on a local show. You've been on the Adam Gold show. But how does it feel to be back?
It's so cool. 7 years it's been since I've been back. And, you know, I have such great appreciation for the work that you do, the people in Greenville, America, as I belovedly call it, have appreciation for that as well. That's actually a Steve Loganism for people who don't know. When it's Greenville, America, that's a Steve Loganism. And, you know, I actually gained a great appreciation for ECU fans last weekend when I was at North Carolina's first ever visit to Charlotte, and I had never been to Richardson Stadium before. And I have always been the guy saying, hey, if you're North Carolina or an ACC team, you should visit the group of 5 schools in our state. And then I see Charlotte, and I'm like, nah, they don't need to visit Charlotte, because the appreciation that ECU fans and the passion that they have and the pedigree they have, and even App State to a degree as well, those schools are deserving of having ACC teams come visit, and they should visit more often, and it shouldn't be conflated for a place that only has 19,000 fans in its best day in Charlotte. So yes, it's good to be here. It's a long roundabout answer.
Josh Graham, host of The Drive and The Triad on WSJS. And Josh, you've been doing that now. It's hard to believe, man, how time flies. Like you said, 7 years, I believe. And, man, it's crazy. And I do got to ask too. I haven't spoken to you about this. I did want to text you, but you had too much going on.
Please.
Adam Schefter retweeted you. I got to say, like as a once young journalist as we were, that had to be a pretty big highlight for you. I know we used to kind of dream about getting quoted by Adam Schefter as young ECU students at once upon a time.
Yeah, it's just a casualty or a consequence or a benefit, I guess, in this case, to the Bill Belichick experience in Chapel Hill that I'm at the game last Monday night. I'm the first one in the press box, and I just see like a flip card that they give out at ECU games or any other game that has like for scouts there, for media there, makes it easy to track who's playing on the field, depth charts for the game. And at that point, you would hope game plans are baked in. You're not really all that worried about, competitive advantages or disadvantages. And for the depth chart to just be blank for North Carolina the day of the game was perfectly Belichick. So I put it out there, and I don't get notifications on my phone except when I get calls and text. So I didn't know that Schefter retweeted me, and I'm just eating a press box meal. And then I go back to my phone, and my first thought was that somebody died. It was just hundreds of messages and all these things. And it's like, oh, that's what happens when Adam Schefter, the number one sports media insider in the country, decides to quote tweet your stuff. But it also speaks to just how bizarre and weird it is that Bill Belichick is coaching college football in our state.
Yeah, I still can't really get used to it. We'll get into that here in a minute. I am curious. You're in the triad now. Obviously, you're an ECU alum. We got the rough poster cut out behind you, which is awesome, by the way, and the ECU hat. So, like, what's the perception? I'm always curious. Like, we are so hyper focused on ECU in Greenville, as you know. Like now, like in the triad, like. I know you got to talk about a bunch of ACC stuff, Panthers, App State. Like, what's the perception of ECU out there these days? How much do you get a chance to talk about the Pirates when you're able to?
Is this the part where I need to switch hats and put on my ACC cap? Like ACC cap and throw it on here? No, I think, honestly, there are Pirate fans everywhere, but you hear more from them when they're good. So I bet it works the same way that hockey, Greenville, America probably works, or maybe to a small degree, Hornets basketball. It's been such a long time to maybe cite that example since the last time they've been good. But with the Hurricanes making the playoffs every year, there's, people want to hear about a winner. They want to hear about the Hurricanes. They want to hear about that. So when Blake Harrell beats NC State in the bowl game last year, and you see what they were able to do at the end of the season, there were some real vibes, and it was a real thing that I think energized the fan base. And it is statewide; it's all over the place. In terms of my interests, I try to watch them every week. And Coastal Carolina, fire it up. Let's see how that goes. And because of people like you and some of the other media sources in Greenville, it makes it very easy to follow you guys from afar, seeing what ECU did against Campbell and, of course, the opener against State where they almost came back and won. There's a lot of excitement for the Pirates, especially Pirate football.
Visit with Josh Graham, host of The Drive on WSJS in the Triad. All right. By the way, when are you coming back to Dowdy Ficklin to get in the press box again, man? BYU game's calling your name.
I haven't been to the press box at Dowdy. You know what? I haven't been to the press box since it was the 5 wide in the sky. I haven't been to the press box. I do need to figure that out, because the last time I was in the press box was 2018. ECU played Carolina, and I came back there for a game. It was my first year since I went back to since I got the job in the Triad. And it's funny, like me and my wife were just talking about this. We need to go, because we've been to one game together as fans in Greenville, maybe 2. I have to remember. But I have a son now. I'm a dad. And this weekend we're taking baby Daniel, to his first sporting event to my wife's alma mater, Virginia. this was the weekend that kind of worked out for us, and we're going to go to Charlottesville. So now we need to figure out the return trip to Dowdy Ficklin. So if I end up in the press box, it might be with baby Daniel in tow. We have to figure it out.
I'm sure Malcolm Gray will be fired up about baby Graham.
My guy Malcolm, what's happening?
Oh, man, that would be a sight to see. Josh Graham with us. All right, speaking of Virginia, how about NC State, man? That offense looked pretty incredible. And look, against ECU, we had a bunch of questions about the East Carolina defense going into the season. ECU's defense has surprisingly looked pretty good through 2 weeks. It's very early, but what do you make of NC State? We all know Dave Doran. Look, we're going to have James Giglio, Joe's son, on the show later today as well, probably, and he knows all too well about Dave Doran being on the hot seat. So just, I don't know, like NC State's 2-0, but it still feels like Wolfpack fans, they're never happy. What's your vibe on NC State, Dave Doran's job status?
It's 13 years of this compounded. So it's when they beat ECU, but they almost lose the game in game one. The way that James Giglio's dad, Joe, put it to me yesterday when I was chatting with him, and he put it well, was NC State wins, Dave Doran loses. That's how the last couple of weeks have felt, even though they've won these games. All right, you give up 31 to Virginia, you score 35, you figure out a way to win. I haven't seen them up close yet. I've watched them on TV. Tomorrow I'll see them when they play on ESPN at Wake Forest tomorrow night. So we'll get a better sense for them. You obviously saw them up close in game one. CJ Bailey is, I think, one of the better state quarterbacks that Dave Doran's had, even though he's had some really good ones, Ryan Finley and Devin Leary. I really like CJ Bailey, and he hasn't been turning it over. And when he doesn't turn it over, he has good weapons to give the ball to. Hadn't seen a lot from Justin Jolie. Grimes has made some good grabs. Hollywood Smothers is good in the backfield. It's a sneaky team, but when NC State goes into last year with all the hype that it had when they brought in Coastal Carolina's transfer, and you have all this buzz, and you get walloped by Tennessee the way they were, and you barely even win 6 games or lose a bowl game to ECU, I feel the muted excitement is more a consequence of that, a reaction to last year. And that might be the most Dave Doran thing ever. It's the law of the wolf, after all. When you least expect it from Dave Doran and NC State, that's when they surprise you. So it wouldn't shock me at all if this was an 8-win football team.
It does feel like every time there's pressure on him, he finds a way to save his job, which is why he's in year 13. Look, NC State, Wake Forest, I'll watch this game just because it's Thursday Night Football. It's on. I don't know if I'm excited about it, but I do feel like NC State, Wake Forest, and I think you were talking about this with Giglio the other day on your show, it kind of is a sneaky good game. Usually, especially when it's in Winston-Salem, I feel like they have a tendency to play some classics. So I don't know, is this an important early season game definitely for NC State, but for Wake, kind of your vibe there as you are in the triad again?
Yeah, I see. This is me making a pitch to Stephen Igo, but also to Greenville America as well, that has a decision to make tomorrow night. Do I watch Washington Commanders, Green Bay Packers, or do I watch Wake Forest, NC State? And this is the pitch for Wake Forest, NC State. It's a milestone game. For the last 11 years, Wake Forest had Dave Clawson on the sidelines, who was one of the more successful coaches that Wake Forest has ever had them in the top 10 for back-to-back years. Jake Dickert comes in and hasn't been all that impressive through the first 2 games, but like NC State, figure out a way to go 2-0. One of the best running backs in all of the ACC is Damon Claiborne, who was hurt in the first game, and he's going to be able to play tomorrow night. The ACC put out its first ever injury report for conference game yesterday. Both NC State and Wake Forest producing those. Damon Claiborne's name not on that injury report, so he will be ready to go. NC State, you're right, has had a lot of problems in Winston-Salem. Winston-Salem is a house of horrors for the Wolfpack. 2-4 record for Dave Doran in Winston, and if that, what's funny about that is that's actually one more win than Tom O'Brien and Chuck Amato earned combined in Winston over a decade plus period, those two together. So NC State's favored. Wake Forest always tends to find a way to win when the Wolfpack visits. That's some of the tension. And another reason it's probably a milestone game is I would be a little surprised if Dave Doran's in year 14, whether it's his choice to leave on his own volition or something else. But I would be absolutely floored and stunned if he was there in year 15. So while it's the first time Jake Dicker is dealing with the rivalry, Wake Forest's new coach, it's probably the last time that Dave Doran's going to be visiting Winston-Salem as State's coach as well. So there's your local rivalry. And here's a stat for you, Stephen. This is actually kind of nuts. I dug into this yesterday. Wake Forest NC State is the second longest uninterrupted rivalry in the history of college football. What that means is tomorrow night is going to be the 116th consecutive year that Wake Forest and NC State have played. The only series that goes back longer, uninterrupted, is Wisconsin and Minnesota, who've played every year since 1907. 116 straight years NC State beating Wake Forest.
There's nothing quite like it. That is an awesome stat, though. Josh Graham with us. Last thing on the ACC for our local audience, I promise. If we're ticking you off, I'm sorry, but we got to talk.
I'll remove the hat.
Josh.
I'll remove the hat, the ACC hat. I'll put the pirate hat back on.
That's fine. All right. So we briefly touched on the Bill Belichick ordeal. I'm just curious, Josh. What is the end game here? What's the end game? I guess he wants to coach for a long time. They look pretty rough. Obviously, UNC is spending a bunch of money on the football front. The schedule is easy. And so, I don't think they're a good team, but they could still make a bowl game. I don't how does this look 3, 4, 5 years from now? What is the end game if you're in an ideal world for a UNC fan?
See, I always viewed this year as a one-off. That's how I always viewed it, because as soon as we got the contract details, where it was after June 1, a $1 million buyout, a $10 million goes down to $1 million. That's such a strange thing to have in a buyout. Look at what, for example, Kalen DeBoer is dealing with at Alabama, where it's a $70 million buyout. And a lot of people looked at that as saying, he's never going to coach at North Carolina. He's going to figure out a way to get it back into the NFL, and then his son's going to be given the job right before the season started. There were a lot of conspiracies such as that. And I do feel that maybe Bill was thinking, and including that type of buyout in his contract, I'll coach there for 1 year, and then I'll do enough in college, because it's just college. How hard could it be? And then the NFL is going to want me back, and then I'm going to break the record. I'm 15 wins away or whatever from breaking the all-time wins record in the NFL. That's what I'm going to do. Now, I don't think the NFL is going to want Bill back, partly because of the stink that he's raised with New England, where I was at the game, as I mentioned, in Charlotte, and Bill is confirming reports, making a private spat now public, that the Patriots have been banned from North Carolina practices. I'm not welcome there, so they're not welcome here. Great logic when the best player in the NFL that your school has produced plays for the Patriots as their quarterback. So anyway, that's a stupid controversy, and another reason why that he's probably not going to get an NFL job. So beyond this year, there's the other piece of this, that if this doesn't go the way that North Carolina thought, and they view this as being a bit of a sideshow, if they only win 6 games, they're not paying $10 million to win 6 games, Stephen Igo. So that $1 million buyout could work the other way, where North Carolina is like, no. We can spend this much money and get a real college coach like John Summerall from Tulane or something in here and do this the right way, just with more investment. I'm not saying that is what's going to happen, because that would require people to admit they're wrong, namely the Chancellor Lee Roberts with North Carolina. But in terms of the outlook, this team, I think everybody thought it would be better than what it is. So maybe we are looking at multiple years of this. I wouldn't go as far to say 5 years or anything close to that, even though it's a 5-year contract. But the recruiting looks good. I know you follow that very closely. North Carolina actually has had a really strong recruiting class going into next year, and they got a good quarterback in as a true freshman who isn't playing right now, and Bryce Baker. But it's hard to have this outlook that North Carolina can be any type of a national contender. Strangely, it looks like, well, what we saw before with Larry Fedora and with Mac Brown.
Josh Graham with us. Well, a few more things for you, Josh. All right, and then we'll get you out of here.
Yeah.
Because I got to talk Panthers with you before you go. We'll say that for last. But any, college football as a whole, any big storyline? I'll let you take the floor here. Anything you're really, impressed by, interested by after 2 weeks of action? You can go anywhere you want to here. Just college football across America.
Nationally speaking, through a couple of weeks, I am so impressed with Oregon. I thought I overlooked Oregon going into last year, where I'm like, all right, you're going to have to fly across the country. The Big Ten's better than the Pac-12. And then they were the best team in college football. This might be a hot take, but with the expansion of the college football playoff, I just view college football as 2 seasons now. Like, I've always associated college football as the Saturdays played in the fall, not the weekends in January that ended up with Ohio State winning a trophy, even though all their fans are ticked because they didn't beat Michigan in the season that college football fans care about more, the ones where you go to stadiums Saturday in the fall. In that season, the one that most people, I think, care about, Oregon was the best team. And then you lose Dylan Gabriel, and you don't have Evan Stewart, a receiver, for the entire year. So I looked at them ranked in the top 10. I'm like, UCLA's transferred, Dante Moore is going to be your quarterback. And then they beat the brakes off Oklahoma State 69-3. And it just had me thinking, like, I don't think there's a better coach in college football right now than Dan Lanning is. And it's amazing how good they are again. I viewed the Big Ten, who's won the last 2 national championships, as being Ohio State and Penn State, and one of those 2 teams will win it. Now I view it as being 3, and I'll put Oregon above Penn State right now based on what I've seen a few weeks in. I just am so impressed if we're going to look at it in a national scope with what they've done. And frankly, got to give respect where it's due to what the Big Ten has done, becoming the best conference in college football over the SEC. It's kind of amazing, Stephen. And a coach, I won't say from where, texted me this saying, it's interesting that when everybody started to be able to pay players legally, the SEC stopped becoming such a dominant conference. That's an interesting coincidence, isn't it?
It really makes you wonder. Now everybody can do it. We know the SEC has been doing it for quite some time. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. If only the Panthers could maybe pay more than the rest of the NFL teams, then maybe they could be in the same boat. Well, I don't know.
Steve Ballmer, circumvent the cap. That's what you need to do, Tepper.
Exactly. Follow that model. I don't know. What do you think, Josh, with the Panthers? I know the hopes were high, the whole Jacksonville season opener thing. Pretty tough open for Bryce Young. Just, are you already out on the Panthers? Or are you willing to give them a little more time? What's your thoughts on Carolina?
Yeah, I'm willing to give them more time. I thought this was a 7-8 win football team. If it's 8, you're feeling pretty good because you're going from 2 wins to 5 to 8. I think the disappointment that we're feeling, kind of like with NC State fans, that Panther fans are feeling, it's 7 years of missing the playoffs compounded, and fans are impatient. They want to get back to the playoffs. So the entire offseason is, you can win the NFC South. The NFC South is not that good. 9 wins isn't all that crazy. And I'm like, well, don't lose sight of the big picture. Listen, watch what they do, not what they say. So when after the draft, they take 2 edge rushers in the 2nd and 3rd round, and then they release a guy who was tied for the lead in sacks last year, Jadeveon Clowney, Dave Canales told us that day, hey, we're trying to get some younger guys in there. That's not the mentality of a team that is trying to win right now, that views itself as a contender right now. So there seemed to be a disconnect between what Panther fans were thinking this team could be versus Dan Morgan and Dave Canales. And we even got a hint of that a couple days ago when Dave Canales said, we want to get more younger guys out there playing on defense. We can live with the mistakes. That's not something, again, that if you feel you're a contender right now, that you say, but you want to see, kind of like last year, the last 10 games, you want to see Carolina build off that. You want to finish with more wins than last year, of course. And you want Bryce Young to play better than he did against Jacksonville. I do kind of view this game as being a bit of an aberration. I like their chances against Arizona, even though the point spread might suggest differently. I think this was a case of misset expectations and 7 years of missing the playoffs being compounded why you have the overreaction of what we saw. Bryce was the reason why this was as lopsided as it was on Sunday. You can't turn over the ball as many times as you did and expect to win on the road against a team that is slightly better than you are talent-wise. So I'm not out on Carolina. My expectations haven't changed based on what we saw on Sunday. I still feel this is a 7 and 8 win team, and that would be a positive step again as this team tries to dig itself out of the deep gutter that Dave Tepper and Matt Rule and Frank Reich put this franchise in.
He is Josh Graham, host of The Drive with Josh Graham on WSJH in the Triad. It's daily 3 to 6, right? On in that area. Yep. So check it out. You also live stream it as well.
You can listen, so you can catch that before you catch the fine afternoon programming on 94.3 The Game.
Exactly. There you go, Josh Graham. Hey, we appreciate the time, man. We'll have to do this more often, maybe once a month or so to check in. We really appreciate it, man. Good to catch up with you.
Yeah, Ruffin McNeil says hi. So we'll see you sometime soon. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. That was awesome. Josh Graham with us here on a Wednesday edition of Hoist the Colors. We will be right back after this.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Colors, Wednesday, September 10th edition of the show. Good to have Josh Graham back. We'll try to mix him in every now and then. Look, I mean, we do a lot of ECU hyper-focused talk here. And it's always good to branch out. Obviously, Josh, an ECU alum, but to talk some college football as a whole as well. All right, we got Philip Pilkington producing. We have James Gilio, whose father was on the Josh Graham show yesterday, but he is here now. James Gilio, what's up, man?
What's going on? I was actually going to ask if my text went through because I think Apple's doing the thing where they're shutting down my phone. They want me to buy the new phone. It's been going on for the past week, so I didn't know. I don't see my text, but you know how
I even
Apple
texted you. I got you, and it still hasn't gone through.
Yeah, Apple does that thing where where they want you to buy the new phone, they'll start making your current phone go super slow. Have you never heard of that?
Yeah. Well, knock on wood, I've never had that happen. But what I've had is with my last phone before I got this one, I had a point where I was averaging 45 minutes of screen time a day, and it would still by 8 o'clock be in the 20s. It would just die.
Yeah, battery is quick.
Yeah, it just makes my phone go. I think they're making my phone go, the last week. It's just been super slow and nothing's sending. So whatever.
Well, I guess you'll have to get a new phone. Which James Gilio will be going to Conway with myself, Walter, our photographer. Also, Kaysen Ramaley will be making his ECU media return. He's going to cover the game with us. Also, Savannah's going to meet us there. She lives in the Whiteville area because she's the AD there. So we're going to have 5 people at the from Hoist the Colors at the Coastal game. The problem is, guys, their press box is in the end zone field house, and it sounds like there's 10 seats. So I have no idea where we're all going to sit. Are you looking forward to this trip, James?
I've never been to a football game here. I'm excited to see the blue turf. Very much looking forward to it.
Are you really excited to see the blue turf? I think it's going to hurt my eyes.
It's teal. It's not blue. Boise's is blue.
Yeah.
Teal, same thing. I'm excited to see it. I like obscure football stadiums, I guess, or football fields.
When we went to the Coastal Carolina Regional, they were tearing up the turf and getting some new turf. So we'll see how it looks there in Conway. All right, so we'll break that down more tomorrow. We got Chris Bergen coming on, the play-by-play voice of Coastal Carolina, along with Macy O'Donnell. Let's get into, guys, concerns we have. I'm not trying to be negative. ECU won the game 56-3, but I'm just look, we've talked a lot of positive. It's just through 2 games, what do we like, what do we don't like, that sort of stuff. And today we'll talk about some things we want to see improve. And there's a lot, if you're a coach, Blake Harrell says it's best. You're never happy. I think as fans of the game as we are, there are always things you nitpick, so that's part of it. So we'll kind of go round table here. We also got some comments I'll weigh in on as well. We'll start with Philip. What concerns you most from what we've seen through 2 games with the Pirates?
Do you want me to take the obvious one, or are we going to jointly talk about the obvious one at the end?
We can go ahead and start with the obvious because I feel like it's on everybody's mind.
Okay, the lack of being able to get to the next level in the inside zone run game. And so much of the inside zone run game is about double teams in the first line, which I feel like we did a good job of this past time out. And then it's about timing and when the guy who is supposed to release to the next level releases to the next level. There's a lot of things that go into that. There's communication with the offensive lineman. There's also the running back not hitting the holes too fast. Everybody remembers how good of a runner Le'Veon Bell was and what they talked about he was so good at, and that was his patience. And when there was inside zone, he was very slow in the backfield, and once that the guard would work up to the Mike linebacker, he would then one step and go. And so I think this is a collective issue amongst the running backs hitting the hole too quickly and the offensive line not communicating well as to who is supposed to work up to that middle linebacker and when, and it's causing these 3 to 4 yard runs instead of 6 to 7 yard runs.
I remember the Parker Jenkins 17-yard run. I think London Montgomery had a 10-yard run against State late in the game, and then TJ Engelman had a couple big runs. Outside of that, they have had very little explosive runs, 10 yards or more through 2 games. So I was encouraged by not going backwards against Campbell, but it's Campbell. So running game, I still want to see a lot more from. Is that one of your primary concerns, James? Feel free to take this in any direction.
Yeah, obviously run game's the big issue here. You look at surface level, 4 different running backs score rushing touchdowns, right? And it's 5 total touchdowns for between running backs. But the leading rusher had 36 rushing yards, and it's a big issue, I think, through 2 games. The offensive line, like Philip said, we were talking about it actually after the game, and Philip made a good point. Not a lot of running backs are getting to the second level of runs. There hasn't really been a lot of 10-yard runs, 15-yard runs. Like you said, you pointed out the small handful of them. But something deeper in the run game that I've been a little disappointed in is the lack of, and I guess maybe this is to preserve injury, I guess, the lack of design runs for Caden Hauser. I thought at the end of last year and in the bowl game, he obviously had the 2 rushing touchdowns. I thought he was definitely making himself an extra kind of a little bit more of a weapon with those legs, and we just haven't really seen that a lot. But going away from the run game, the only other concern I've really had through 2 games, and really only through the state game, was the secondary. I thought the secondary played really bad. State hit a couple of deep balls over the top. Tegan Wilk has played well, but besides him, the secondary in that state game specifically was very disappointing.
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing out of the safeties for the most part with Jamarly Riddle, Tegan Wilk. I'm a little concerned about the depth behind them. ECU really needs to continue, which they did a great job of in Campbell, getting more safeties in the game, continue to bring them along because just those guys are young. Losing Demarius Hines, who is going to potentially push for a starting job at nickel or safety, was a huge blow in the preseason. And so I like Tegan. I like Jamarly Riddle. I want to see some more safeties emerge as time goes on. Hopefully keep those guys healthy. Corner, to me, it's still pretty much a complete unknown. Like I just feel like those guys have yet to really make a big play on the football, which is fine, like as long as they're in the right place. But as James said, you don't want other teams to be able to throw the football up in one-on-one coverage, or even when you got 2 guys back there, somebody's got to make a play on the ball. So secondary, defensively, we were talking pre-show, Philip, like we were concerned going into the year about the D-line, and all of a sudden I feel pretty good about that group, even after losing Xavier McIver, like 2-3 deep. So my concerns more point towards the cornerback room and kind of that secondary once they really get tested.
Yeah, no, I think so. And the tough thing is with depth at those places, you want to get those guys reps and get them in the game. The issue is those are the plays that if you mess up, it usually results in pay dirt, right? We always say it. D-line messes up, there's linebackers. Linebackers mess up, there's DBs. DBs mess up, there's a guy doing a dance in the end zone like he's Marlon Gunn. So, that's the tough thing is when you get those guys opportunities, what you hope is that you can get out by 20 points or so, midway through the fourth quarter, or, early in the fourth quarter this week coming up, and you can get more of those guys some more reps just to see because, you don't want it to be a trial by fire situation.
Some other comments here. Corsair on YouTube says biggest concerns for Pirate football should be their inability to run against a stout defensive front. Chuck adds, obviously the offensive line. My main concern, though, is secondary. Too many big plays against NC State. Cameron says the offensive line is big, but they do not look great. BYU and Tulane will dominate us. Johnny Robertson with a good post here. He says tackling.
Yeah.
The Pirates are 134th out of 136 teams in tackling per Pro Football Focus. 37.7 PFF rating versus Campbell is their worst grade since 2013 with PFF first started grading ECU games. They had 23 missed tackles against the Camels. Now, I do wonder how much of that is just, you played 45 guys defensively. Some of these guys never are going to play the rest of the season. I feel confident saying that. So, I don't know, James. Watching it live, I didn't notice a glaring amount. I remember one bad missed tackle on a third down by a corner that extended a drive, but definitely the tackling needs to improve. But I don't know if it's as bad as the numbers say. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think that's a good point you made about a lot of guys coming in and out. We saw they were subbing in 10 guys at one point on defense at one time. But I think the bad missed tackle you're referring to is on one of that tunnel screens when Campbell ran and they got a third down and 20 extra yards. I think that was a missed tackle. I can't remember who it was. There was a missed tackle by a corner there. But I didn't think it was that glaring of an issue. Obviously, the score, it was a pretty blowout. It was a blowout of a game. So, at the end of the day, it didn't really matter. But when you're playing all those guys, it didn't really have that much of an effect on the game. But yeah, to me, there was not that big of an issue. But going forward, when you're playing better teams like Coastal, BYU, and State, I also didn't really think it was that much of an issue for State. But it'll definitely be something to look forward for Coastal.
Well, I think it was an issue against State for 2 drives, one quarter, and then it kind of sharpened up. So I wonder, with it only being a 2-week sample size, how much that 1 quarter just put East Carolina so far behind the 8 ball in this statistic. And it'll even out as the season goes on. But there's first 2 drives, they missed Smothers a few times in the backfield, and I think it's just hasn't had time to even itself out yet. The other thing is we've doing a good job on those screens to get 11 hats of the football. to your point. So like when there's one missed, it wasn't showing because the next guy was there. But I think you're right, James, that it didn't feel like it was a glaring issue throughout all of the 2 weeks. But like again, I just think that small sample size, there's 2 drives really are kind of what's skewing the data.
Yeah, I remember late in the game, ECU made an adjustment. D lineman Justin Benton, they missed the initial tackle, but he made a tackle like 10 yards downfield and short of the markers. So just hopefully that continues to improve. Hunter Corbett says, I'd like to see improvement on limiting penalties, especially pre-snap penalties. I'd like to see the personal fouls get cleaned up. We still are seeing too many just silly penalties. And I feel like that's the one thing since Blake Carroll has taken over. Like, he wants his guys to play with an edge, but they do have to get a handle on these things. I mean, I think they've had double-digit penalties the first 2 weeks, James, and you go to Coastal, you turn the ball over, you make some stupid penalties like that again, it's going to come back to cost you. Even more so than it has already.
Yeah, I think the penalties are a real big issue in that state game. That was honestly, I think, a big reason why they ended up losing that game. The holding at the end of the first half really set them back and ended up leading to a missed kick. And then in the Campbell game, I think it was Raheem Craig had 2 bad penalties. I think he had maybe a neutral zone, offsides, and then maybe a personal foul.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just want to see this kind of stuff get cleaned up. But also, it is week 2, right? Or we're going into week 3. So definitely a lot of time for this stuff to get cleaned up. But I'll be very interested to see how they look versus Coastal with the tackling side and the penalty side, because the pre-snap penalties have been bad as well.
All right. Any other concerns, you guys let us know in the chat. I feel like we've covered the main ones.
I got one more, and I want to ask you guys about it. Do we have a kicker we trust?
I was going to bring that up, and I meant to. I'm glad you did.
I'm going to let you guys take it away, but
I mean, if you got 3 kickers, you got no kickers. I mean, that's if you have 2 kickers, you have no kickers. If you have 3 kickers, I think, to have your starting kicker have some fatigue after one game is not ideal. And I guess the good news is all of them have kicked in the game and all of them have made big kicks, but they've also all missed kicks. So, I don't know, James. I never feel good about college kickers, and that's just kind of my stance.
College kickers have always been kind of like something I've always expected. Whenever a college kicker goes out, I always expect them to miss. So, there hasn't really been a big spot situation, I feel like, where like we needed the kick to go in. I mean, maybe you could say in the state game where we needed that field goal to make it a touchdown game. That was a big spot. We made it. But there hasn't really been like, a game winner or anything like that. So kicking's definitely a question mark. That's a good point, Philip. But I thought it was interesting that we were rotating a lot of guys, or those 3 different kickers in that Campbell game with extra points.
And it sounds like it's going to be week to week, based on practice and performance going forward until somebody emerges as a guy on game day. All right, let's go ahead and get a break in. We do have a question about OC play calling that Graham wants to get into. We'll talk about that on the other side. I also want to ask James, it's been a while since we had a MLB update, so maybe we'll ask him about the Yankees. And the Jets actually played an entertaining football game, although they lost. So we'll hit on all that in our final segment. This is Hoist the Colors.
It's time to soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota. Summer is here with hot deals on a great selection of new Toyotas, like a Corolla, $189 a month, or Tacoma, $279 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt & Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt & Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville, we've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
My hair is definitely a reflection of who I am. Wild, fun, fiery for sure.
It just goes with the flow.
Me and my hair, both untamable.
I wear it how I feel.
Feel fearless.
Feel empowered. Look fantastic.
Look fantastic.
Look fantastic. Feel unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
The sun is out, and so are the deals at Greenville Toyota. Soak up the savings on a hot selection of new Toyotas, like a Camry, $229 a month, or RAV4, $289 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
Pirates, Stephen Igo is loyal and bold. He may also have a touch of scurvy. Back to Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Final segment here. We've got about 5 minutes left. James Giglio with us, Philip Pilkington producing. Graham Teal had a question on Facebook, says, with all the weapons John David Baker has and knowing his former quarterback pass-first tendencies, could we not agree his offensive coordinator style is pass to set up the run at this point? I think we've seen that for the most part, although I always do go back to this is an offense that is RPO-based, and a lot of it depends on what the quarterback's seeing. Philip, if the quarterback's seeing a lot of numbers in the box, he's going to throw. If he's seeing the opposite, he's going to hand it off. At least that's what it should be in theory.
Yeah, I mean, it even comes back to that fourth down play against NC State. They said that was, we believe that was an RPO prior to, the snap. So, but I do get where Graham's coming from. It does seem like the games that we've ran the ball in successfully, it's because we've passed it successfully first, kind of stretched out the defense. And I also think he's got a gunslinger quarterback that he trusts to go out there and sling the ball around the yard and to take guys out of the box. I feel like that's more of a strength of the team than the offensive line run blocking. So I think that's got a little bit to do with it too. I think he's fine being he came from Ole Miss, right? I mean, that's what they do over there. They throw the football. So, I get where Graham's coming from.
And I'll say this. ODU runs a similar scheme, but Coastal runs the three safety scheme. Don't be surprised if there are a lot of runs early in this game based on what the defense is giving you. You have to be able to establish the run against this defense. All right, James Giglio, your New York Yankees, they were closing in on the Toronto Blue Jays really until yesterday where they got smacked by the Tigers. The Blue Jays came back and beat the Astros. How are you feeling about the Yankees as we're getting down the stretch run here? Playoffs are around the corner.
Yeah, MLB playoffs, one of my favorite times of the year. Just speaking on the Yankees, though, I mean, definitely disappointing showing last night. 2-2 ball game, ended up giving up 9 runs in the 7th inning. Game turns into a blowout. Luckily, it was only game 1 of the series, so we have 2 games left versus them, and we have 3 games versus the Red Sox down the stretch. After them, though, I think our last 10 to 13 games, though, are teams that are not even close to the playoff picture, so still a chance to finish strong. I think this is going to be a very exciting MLB playoffs. All of our teams look like they're going to make it. The Cubs are going to make it, and the NL and the Mets and Dodgers look like they're going to have a round 1 showdown. So definitely I think the MLB playoffs could be one of the best ever this year.
Yeah, the AL in particular seems just wide open. I know the Tigers are probably the best team, or the Blue Jays, but they feel even gettable in the playoffs. And Phillips Red Sox are in position to potentially play the Yankees in the first round. The Mariners right now are trying to get into the AL West. They're a game out behind the Astros and in wild card position. Rangers also making a charge. All right, got a few minutes left, James. The New York Jets, your New York Jets, they played an entertaining football game, which I think is like a win in itself. They did lose, though, to the Steelers. So are you more encouraged, less encouraged by the Jets?
Honestly, I got to be honest, less encouraged. It's the same stuff we've been seeing for the last 3 years. The Jets get in position to win, and there's a combination. Something unlucky happens, and they do something dumb. The guy, Xavier Gibson, who fumbled the kickoff or whatever he fumbled, he actually got cut this morning. So at least there's some accountability. I am happy about that, but definitely discouraged because it's the same stuff. I mean, pre-snap penalties, undisciplined, it's just all around. And then unlucky, too. That DK Metcalf double bounce catch and then Chris Boswell, piping a 60-yard field goal. That's just nothing goes the Jets' way, and I'm kind of tired of it.
Lane Smith did ask earlier if the Panthers bounce back against the Cardinals. I kind of feel like they do. But what is it worse to be a Jets or a Panthers fan? And I'm asking a Panthers and a Jets fan. Any
Jets. Because Jets have been going through the same thing for a longer amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Panthers at least went to the Super Bowl in the last 10, 15 years. So.
Yeah. I guess it's better to be a Panthers fan. Although with David Tepper, I might disagree for right now.
Well, I mean, you want to say, they have a better chance of brighter futures than Tepper, but, I mean, crap, they haven't been good since 1968. Yeah. James definitely has it worse than I do.
I would say Panthers win Sunday, by the way. I think they bounce back.
Yeah.
They at least play well. I don't know if they win, but they'll play well.
They'll play better than they looked. All right, James, appreciate the time, man. Thanks for hopping on after class. We'll continue to get you involved, man.
Of course.
And Philip Pilkington, appreciate you behind the scenes as well. We are out of time on today's program. Excited about Thursday's show. We'll have Chris Bergen on, Coastal Carolina play-by-play voice, along with Macy O'Donnell. We'll really dive into the Chanticleers, what to expect there going into the road contest this Saturday night. Thanks to Josh Graham for joining us as well, and thanks to all you for chiming in the comments section. We'll see you Thursday, 12 noon on Hoist the Colors.
This has been Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo. Get a recap of this show at 943thegame.com and on your IBX Media app, on Twitter, Facebook, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Tune in weekdays at noon to get your ECU sports fix with Stephen Igo and Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Hoist the Colors!